Hello, everybody. It's me again, Richandre. And today we're going to be talking about ethical theories. Okay. So this is just going to be an overview of these four ethical theories. We're not going to get very deep on it, and we're just going to define what these theories are. So the first theory that we have is utilitarianism. What is utilitarianism? Okay. Utilitarianism basically just says that the greater good is better and morally righteous for most situations. Okay? So utilitarianism basically just argues that ultimately what makes something morally correct or valid is if it causes the greatest amount of happiness for society or for a larger number of people. Okay? And this theory, this ethical theory, basically follows the consequentialist sort of ethics. And what consequentialist ethics basically just says is that it prioritizes, okay? It prioritizes the result, whether or not the result is good or bad. So, for example, I could give you a scenario. Let's say you have a pro-choice person, and they argue that abortion is right and justified if the woman who is currently pregnant does it because the baby could potentially be detrimental for that woman's life or well-being. So that is a consequentialist standpoint on things. And utilitarianism is sort of like a subcategory of consequentialism. Okay? It just argues that what is morally right is the happiness of many. What determines moral validity is the happiness is what gives the most happiness to the most amount of people. That is the gist of utilitarianism. The second ethical theory that we have is duty ethics. So what is duty ethics? Duty ethics, okay? And this is sort of like pioneered by Immanuel Kant, who was a philosopher back in 1800s, I believe, 1800s or 1900s, or somewhere along those years. Okay. Duty ethics basically argues the principle over practicality. Unlike utilitarianism or consequentialism, it argues that the principles always matter. So if we take the same example about the abortion pro-choice person who argues that abortion is justified if the woman who is pregnant can be potentially risking her life for the baby. And duty ethics would argue, for example, that if you take the same scenario that I just mentioned, the principles always matter. So we could universally agree that murder is wrong, or that killing another human being is wrong. And Yuki ethics would argue in that same situation that it is wrong, regardless of the result that coincides with the action. Okay? So the principles are always there, regardless or in spite of the situation. Okay? So it doesn't matter if the person or the woman is risking her life for the baby. What matters is the act of her killing the baby and the abortion morally righteous? Okay? So the principles always matter. That is what the gist of duty ethics is. It doesn't matter what the results are. You see? It doesn't matter what the results or the resulting consequences are, whether it be good, okay, or bad. What matters is the principles. Okay? So a third type, or third form of ethical theories is virtue ethics. Okay? And virtue ethics encompasses philosophies like Stoicism, okay? Stoicism, for instance, it argues that a moral character, the character that you upheave into society, or the four virtues of Stoicism, should always be present. Okay? And virtue ethics basically just argues that the morality of a situation depends upon the character of the person. Okay? So let me give you an example. For example, in Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius was one of the founders or one of the pioneers of Stoicism, or basically just the person who made Stoicism known in present times. And Stoicism, as a philosophy, it just says that you should fight for the greater good. Okay? Or that you should upheave or always strive to be the best person that you can be. Okay, regardless of the situation, regardless of what other people say, you should always strive to be the best version of yourself. So that is a gist of virtue ethics. Character matters. Okay? The character of a person, okay, is what matters. And lastly, we have existentialist ethics. So what existentialist ethics basically argues is that we have no inherent value. There is no inherent meaning to the world or to the universe or anything that happens in our lives. And it argues that meaning is found or created by you as a person and us individually should strive to find meaning in our lives, either by creating it or by finding it in any such endeavors. Okay? So it's basically like a pessimistic sort of philosophy. That things don't matter. That inevitably, nothing matters. Or there's no meaning to anything. That we should create meaning onto our lives. So those are 4 of the most prominent ethical theories out there. Okay? And if you learned anything from this video, I would suggest that you subscribe. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me your honest opinion or feedback in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in another video.